Welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show about short video games, games that respect your time. I am Reagan Kelly, and I'm joined this week by two fantastic co-hosts.
Laura Nash.
And Shane Kelly.
And we're back, and we are talking this week about some of the games that we've checked out, the games that we thought had short game energy, that had demos out in Steam Next Fest. So Steam Next Fest, if you're not aware, is a event that Steam does, actually, I think a couple of times a year. I don't know exactly how. I think it's either 2 or 3 times a year. It's not a strictly annual thing. But it is an event where developers on Steam can put out a brand new demo and get special featured coverage in Steam itself. So they have a really nice interface in Steam for you to browse the Steam Next Fest demos, and you can filter by all kinds of different categories. And let me tell you, short is one of the categories, although we have a lot of games here that weren't specifically tagged as short. That's not something that every developer uses, but you can sort by genres, you can sort by features, you can sort by vibes. There's like tons of different options. And tons and tons and tons of developers put out new game demos for games that are upcoming this year. So it's a great way to get a preview of things that are coming in 2025. So we decided to take a little bit of time and play a handful of demos. Each of us has played several, and we're going to talk about the things that stood out most to us in Steam Next Fest of 2025. Now, there's no way for us to be comprehensive here. There's a zillion and one games. We were all, in many cases, just sort of playing stuff that we already kind of knew would be interesting. So if you played stuff in Steam Next Fest that you think would be good for the show that we should be keeping an eye out for in terms of release dates, let us know. But in this episode, we're just going to kind of round up some of those games that we are excited to play once they have a full release later this year.
I am always a little torn on playing demos of games that I want to cover in the future because I'm always a little scared I'm going to spoil myself. So I tried to pick games that I thought a little sample of would whet my appetite but wouldn't spoil me. So I normally, I'm going to go for like a big juicy narrative game, but like I hate playing chapter 1 and not getting chapter 2. So I picked and I was looking through for things that were in my wheelhouse that I could get the vibe of and then drop once I knew if it was for the show or not. So I approached it a little bit strangely. I read a lot of lists, looked at stuff that I wanted to play, and then wrote some like, just save this for later. You're going to like it. And other stuff I wanted to get a sense for the feel of it. That's how I chose. I don't know how you tackled that huge list.
I just jumped in and downloaded the demos of stuff that I already knew that I was going to want to try and play, and that was it. I've got only a couple of games that I tried out this time, and I am happy to say they were both exactly what I was hoping they were. Well, with some small caveats, I will discuss.
Excellent.
I did a little bit of that, and also a little bit of just like trying to find things that I thought were interesting. And I was pretty ruthless of like, if I booted something up and it wasn't immediately engaging in the demo within, 3 minutes of starting the demo, I was going to kind of pass. So, I've got a handful of things here that are, I think, things that I was not aware of, not from developers I know, that I'm looking forward to playing more of. More that I haven't, I had a long list of these. I did a lot of sort of shopping in the demos list. And so I've got a lot of things that I haven't had time to actually check out yet, but looked at trailers and things like that look very exciting, that I wasn't aware of. But yeah, we've got a list. Let's go through it, and we'll see what we've got. First thing I played out of the list, me, the very first thing I did was tried to figure out if I could sort the demos by games that feature the short tag on Steam. I think it's one of the bravest tags a developer can put on their game on Steam. I always appreciate it when they do. That's the like tagging features on Steam are pretty sophisticated, but not every developer sort of like really goes all in on them. But the game that I ended up checking out, which I think is going to be honestly probably about like a 2-ish hour game, which is the perfect length for this style of game, is called WYRMHALL Brush and Banter. It's a fantasy cleaning simulator. You are some kind of goblin, like a like a cleaner goblin who's gotten some kind
House
of
elf
temp
thing?
job. Huh?
Like a house elf?
Not exactly, because you're working at a stand where in a fantasy world, people or creatures or ghosts or whatever are bringing you artifacts that they have found, and you have a variety of little tools that you can use to clean them up. And so a lot of the actual gameplay of it is like looking at a 3D rotatable object like a skull with glowing eyes or a magical bell or whatever, and finding different stuff, gunk, just like in, around, and on it, in the crevices. And there are several different types of gunk, and you have several different cleaning tools that are appropriate for the different types of gunk that are on these various magical artifacts. But the fun of it is, it's first of all, it's very I think the art is really neat. I think I would kind of describe it as a little bit like it's very cute, and it's kind of like 3D Adventure Time or something like that. Like really cute art, really cute characters. All of the characters are like very different, weird silhouettes. Lots of little goblin guys, weird, mysterious wizards, ghosts, weird creatures in masks, and they'll come to the window of your little hut where you're working. It's like a temporary job. You're covering for the owner, and they bring you their artifact and they tell you a little bit about themselves. It's 3D animated. Some of the characters have a little bit of animation going on that's very cute. And then you have to clean it up.
Cute. Yes, I'm looking at it right now. There's like a big bug guy. There's some very lovely goblins. There's a cat in a robe. Your comparison to Adventure Time is very apt. It has that sort of style with big-headed characters with little teeny tiny dot eyes. It just looks very much like of a piece with that style.
The rounded look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very. And it's like low texture but high detail. Cute animated 3D models. Very cool. I like the style quite a bit. I was also drawn to this because it has a release date that is firm. This is releasing on March 7th. That's pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to checking it out when it releases. I think the game that this reminded me of most is actually a Playdate game. It was Mars After Midnight. Mars After Midnight has a little bit of the same kind of vibe where like you're working at like a shop. It's kind of like a mini game, but you're getting the stories of the people who are coming to you. So it had a little bit of that sort of vibe to me. And the other thing that I thought was notable about this is that I thought did a cute job with the demo specifically, because rather than just being like the first day of your job or something, you come into the like office, I don't know what you call it, for sort of a fortune teller, and asking the fortune teller if you should take the job at this stand. And the fortune teller uses their magical orb and gives you, lets you look into the future and see various moments from your job. So it does this little, it has a kind of the demo has a cute little frame story of like, why am I seeing like 3 tiny slices from the future of the game? I thought this was a good demo and made me interested in playing it. And again, this is a game that, tagged casual, short, wholesome fantasy, cute conversation magic, stylized interactive fiction, funny, colorful, linear. Like, check. Okay, fine.
So that's going to be the easiest game to put on our schedule, because honestly, sometimes we are burned out adults with a lot in our minds, and something that is 2 hours and wholesome and cute and going to charm our socks off is such an easy schedule. So yeah. I am so happy you played this and enjoyed it, because it's going to make me happy sometime in the next year.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And, very soon, it seems like. So what's next on our list?
Is it
Shane, you played Wheel World?
I did. I've been looking forward to this one for so long. So Wheel World is a new game from Messhoff, who are the people who brought you Nidhogg. And I am obsessed with Nidhogg. Nidhogg is great. Nidhogg 2, also great. The original Nidhogg, an all-timer. It's a game I pull out pretty regularly. But the real reason I'm hyped for this one is I am a pretty avid cyclist. So this game, Wheel World, is a open world bike RPG where you are kind of going around this kind of open world with tons of races, all different kinds. You can collect bike parts and build your own bike and tailor it to the different kinds of challenges. So I was really looking forward to that. I got started in the game. You have a little floating ghost skull buddy who kind of levitates in front of your bike. There's a frame story.
I had to ask. I had to ask you about that because obviously the thing in the trailer that was like, what's going on there is the floating skull in front of your bike. And I scrolled through that whole Steam page and it is mentioned not a once. And I was like, what is the deal with the floating skull?
Right. The floating skull is a ghost who is going to work with you to try to now the slice that you get in the demo is kind of a setup before you get to the main open world area. It's hard to say exactly how much of the game you really are experiencing there, but I suspect this will probably there'll be a little bit more to it. But basically, he is there to help you collect legendary bike parts so that you can make a special bike to tackle some terrain that will let you save the world.
I think going to be our future Galerius.
I hope so. I think
is a flaming skull a future Galerius? Yay!
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's certainly very helpful with navigation. The thing that really got me going in this was, well, I mean, there's a couple of things. So first off, a lot of time that I spend is spent casually browsing bicycle parts on the internet. I am constantly looking at things like, well, maybe I really do want a titanium frame. It's only like $600 to $800 if I buy just the frame, and then I can like slowly buy more parts, maybe 1 month after another, and then I never feel like I'm spending $3,000 to $5,000 all at once. Or this is the kind of thought process that's constantly going on for me.
The gachapon of bike parts is what that is.
Yeah. So the world of Wheel World is full of these big yellow bike part loot chests that you can open. And
if only.
And it's full of like I think you can build your bike with, you get the handlebars, the frame, front and rear wheel, drivetrain, and I think I'm forgetting some of the other parts that, obviously there are a lot of bike parts that are not represented here. I can't truly, it's a simplified setup, but
how dare they?
I know. But it does kind of capture that, like upgrading your ride and switching out your parts for different challenges. One of the things that I have kind of learned as I've gotten more into cycling is just how much you can customize a bike for the different terrain that you're trying to ride on and the different kinds of riding that you're trying to do. And it looks like that's something that this game is going to capture pretty well. It's also doing that thing that, I have a hard time picking exactly. I know I've played games that do this, but the kind of game, maybe Pokemon is a good example, where like, hey, it's an open world game, but everyone and everything in the world is obsessed with one thing.
Yes.
And this is kind of that. I started off, it's full of like cycling puns. I immediately got up against a crew of kind of road racing cyclists who called me a Fred, which if you don't know, that is cycling jargon for someone who's not serious about road cycling.
Is that a thing?
I love this.
Yes.
You're going to be our decoder ring, Shane.
Yeah. So that aspect of it worked for me really well so far. I have some critiques. This is a demo. The game's not out yet. Maybe they can make some improvements here. Things that I really like about the controls, like the bike controls really well. It's got kind of a boost system that kind of represents your energy, and you can. So it's a little bit of a racer, kind of casual racer style game. You can dismount and walk your bike. I love that. but I have two critiques for the bike model, or maybe this is the movement. When you slow to a stop, you really should have to put your foot down to stop yourself from falling over. It kind of does this lean thing where it's like, maybe they're trying to do that, but it just doesn't look quite right. I'm being very critical here. And then also they allow you to put your bike into reverse and to cycle backwards, which I understand is probably very useful when you're in an open world game and you might need to and you've just slammed your bike into a wall at high speed. And now you need to reverse out. But I have had some serious bike accidents and crashes. This game does not seem to want to simulate bicycle accidents and crashes. When you run into something, you just stop. I can see a design decision that happened there. It's probably more fun if you're not totally eating shit off of a
completely ass over tea kettle every time you hit a bump.
Yeah, but I think that I would like to see something a little more about that. What I am very excited about is it seems like it's going to simulate a lot of different kinds of bike races, which is great. Open world racing games are generally something I enjoy in the first place. And then on top of that, building and customizing a bike is something that speaks to me personally. So I am interested in it. In the trailer, they showed a bunch of bike parts. A lot of them were very sensible. Things like, the difference between, you can get parts for a road bike. You can get parts for a hybrid, for a commuter bike. You can get parts for a gravel bike. You can get parts for like an off-road mountain bike.
Shane, do I need to go get another bell?
No,
a bike bell. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
bet you get the game.
You actually do have a bike bell.
Good.
In the game that you can use.
Ding,
ding ding, and it actually puts the word "ding" over your head. It's very cute. So that's all good. And I am tentatively excited to fulfill my destiny and collect legendary bike parts. So this sounds cool. Levitating skull is cool. He's named Scully. What isn't to like? So
Skelly and Scully, BFFs forever.
Yes. The soundtrack also sounds really good.
Nice.
There's like a kind of a high energy biking soundtrack, I guess. It's so yeah. I'm really looking forward to playing the full version of this game. I enjoyed the demo. Hoping we get the full version soon because it just says 2025.
Yeah, I think we should try to note the release dates, at least as listed on Steam, as we go through these, because most of them just say 2025, but many of them have something a little more specific, like Q2 or fall, or in the case of WYRMHALL, like a specific date. So, Laura, I think you played. This is the one that I am honestly most excited about, but I didn't play the demo because I ran out of time. So I'm glad that you did, Laura. So what about Despelote?
It's coming out May 1st, and you shouldn't play the demo because we're gonna cover it because it's short game bait. It is Despelote is it means something like hot mess or like messy. I haven't taken Spanish since college, but this is a thing that you would say to be like, it's chaos. And Despelote is published by Panic, but it's from a smaller set of devs that it's actually autobiographical. So it's one of the devs is writing about what it was like to be 8 years old, living in Quito, Ecuador, when this country that previously they say in the game, in 1996, they won their first medal in the Olympics for speed walking, and everybody in the country was speed walking to imitate their medal winner. And then it's 2001, and they have a chance at qualifying for the World Cup for the first time, and the whole country goes soccer crazy, and he's 8. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, this game opens up. It's got this kind of grainy black and white game, and you're playing a FIFA World Cup game computer game, FIFA 1999. And then you play the simplified game. It's Ecuador versus Uruguay. And then it zooms out at some point and you realize you're playing it on a TV in your living room and your parents are talking in Spanish. The audio is in Spanish, but the word balloons are in English. So that was nice for me because I could kind of listen halfway and then check my comprehension. But the game is kind of about when you're playing soccer and like adults are talking and you're half listening to them because you're kind of half playing soccer. They eventually switch and turn on one of the qualifying matches. And the art style of this game is super cool. It's got this grainy, very stylized, like a light brown and a red color tint to the world. And then all of the characters are black and white illustrations on top. So there's a lot of actual pictures and footage and video of Quito that's just been kind of grainified. So it all looks like part of the background. It's really cool environmental design. And the whole game, from what I can tell, is you're a kid who has to like go to school, but you're looking out the window watching people play soccer. Then there's recess and you go out and play for a bit and you're exploring the city and you're hearing people kind of talking in the background. You kick soccer balls around with different people and you're kind of just exploring a space and a culture while you're messing around with a soccer ball. It has really good vibes. Which is a bit of a funny thing to say, but it just feels so specific. Like, I rarely get a game set in a Latin American country that isn't about a revolution or a coup. And I'm really excited to hang out and just kind of be in a place that's hopeful and like feels like they're on the precipice of something, but also just hanging out in Quito. So we're definitely going to cover this one. It's so up our alley, and it comes out May 1st. So
very soon. Yeah, Panic kind of can do no wrong lately. Like, I mean, I know there was that like one food art thing that no one talked about, so maybe that, I guess, counts as doing, but you know, I don't know what harm did that do anyone. But like,
I don't remember this, so
Nour, N-O-U-R,
I suppose.
Yeah, no, they published it. It was like the first.
Wait, I do remember this. Yes.
Yeah, it looked interesting. I never got around to it. No one talked about it, and it just seemed sort of pointless. So, but yeah, no, I can't wait to play this. And
the game feels like vibes. Like I there may be a more specific plot dealing as it goes, but the demo was very much communicating a sense of place, and you get to actively do something, which is kick around that soccer ball, but you're also simultaneously getting a sense of like other stuff going on.
Well, I really like games that combine something very structured like sports with a story. Like, you know, we've played what's that game from the Hades devs? That was a
Pyre.
Pyre.
I played an absolute. I mean, it wasn't that long.
Academia was
Dodgeball Academia.
Good one, yeah.
I played a lot of Captain Tsubasa, the like anime soccer, you know, game from like 2 or 3 years ago on Switch. Man, I really liked that. Like, it was great to play a basically pretty standard soccer game, but with like super moves and anime cutscenes telling a season of a soccer anime throughout the game. Like, that was great. I'm looking forward to anything like this. Not that I think this is going to be in the same vibe as Captain Tsubasa did.
No, but I mean, I think you don't know where the game is going, but it doesn't feel like it's going to take you anywhere bad. Like the teacher yells at you to come back from recess, and your friends all run in the opposite direction and climb under a fence, and you're like, "Ooh, where am I going?" Like, you don't feel unsafe. You're like, it feels very adventurous, but very. I'm excited to go to a new area versus like some adventure games. You're like, I am unlocking the next area. I feel very much like this kid is just goofing off, right? It's a different sense of risk. And I really like that.
It's also really neat to see a first person. I mean, I don't know if this qualifies as a walking simulator or whatever.
They call it a narrative exploration game.
Okay. So one of those, is really neat to see one of these that isn't about everyone's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Where did they all go? Like, that's just, it's become so much of a trope. Like, seeing that, like, applied to let's get a taste of a culture that you may not get a chance to see every day that's very exciting to see. So I can't wait to play it. And speaking of can't wait to play it, one of the things I was most excited about for Steam Next Fest this time around was that there are 2 upcoming games from one of our favorite developers, Strange Scaffold, Jalabir Nelson. Is it Zolivir or Jalav, like a sound? I'm never sure with the X in his name. Anyway, X Nelson Jr., who, of course, El Paso Elsewhere and a bunch of other stuff that we've talked about and covered over time. He has 2 games coming out from his studio this year. And there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, which looks really cool. It's a sort of board gamey tactical combat thing with the Ninja Turtles. And something called, let me make sure I get the title exactly right, Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3, which he describes as a Match 3 Metroidvania, a Matchtroidvania. So It was a tough choice deciding which of those to play before we got together to record. I decided to figure out what the heck he means by a Matchtroidvania, and so I played the demo for Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3. I also preface this by saying that it's not a super long demo, but I didn't quite 100% complete it. I spent about 45 minutes with it, just long enough to get a sense of like, well, what are they doing here? So this is a pretty weird one, and I am looking forward to it because I love Match 3 games, and I trust the writing from Zolivir Nelson Jr. and the Strange Scaffold folks. It's coming out in April, so pretty soon. I don't think they have a specific date yet, but it does seem to be coming out in April. Here's what they mean by Matchtroidvania. First of all, this is a game that it has a story. You are exploring a creepy redneck dinosaur mansion. This is very much playing on the tropes of like the Resident Evil games. So it feels like you're playing through, explicitly you're playing through the 3rd game in a series where it's already kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel of its various themes. It's already repeating itself a little bit. There's many references to, the such and such incident of a few years ago, but you're a agent for some kind of agency that is out to stop super science disasters. And so you're a cowardly agent. You're hoping that you don't encounter any dinosaurs, because if you find any dinosaurs, you know that this is a super science scene and you have to lock it down. And of course, you find a dinosaur immediately in this creepy redneck dinosaur mansion. And 3. And the combat, and it's use that term loosely because it's like anytime you encounter a challenge, the first time you have combat is I need to climb over a gate, and it drops into
thrilling.
And the gate is your enemy in the 2-player combat. And every time you drop into combat, it does 2-player, basically paneled upon, which is great for me because I love paneled upon. Paneled upon, if you're not, you may also know it by the name of Tetris Attack or many other names it's gone by in various iterations. But it is a match 3 sliding block style of puzzle where you try to get chains. If you've played Bejeweled, it's basically that. Little differences, but they've done a good job of making, I think, a pretty solid match 3 game. You take turns with your opponent, which is the gate, a dinosaur, whatever. And then each you take a turn, they take a turn, etc. But they do little twists. So you might have a specific goal in order to complete combat. Like, for example, match this particular type of block in order to do damage to your opponent or whatever. They seem to be getting a little bit creative with that as they go. So that's cool. It's not just all the same match game over and over again. Also, you have like powers that you charge up by matching certain numbers of various different types of gems. And once you've got enough, then you can activate those powers and they do different stuff. So, they use that in slightly creative ways. So for example, like there's a bit where there's a Brontosaurus, you don't want it to notice you. So the combat is sneaking past the Brontosaurus. And in order to do that, you need to match enough stuff to activate a sort of sneaking power, and you need to do that X number of times before you're able to sneak past the Brontosaurus, whereas it's doing its activity to try to notice you. It's kind of like they're using this pretty basic combat system, but in ways that don't necessarily equate specifically to combat. I thought that was cool. The other thing that they're doing here that's kind of neat, and I think is probably what's going to carry me through more of this game, is that they are sort of trying to play with the fact that you are in the sequel to a Resident Evil with like some third wall breaking like stuff. So you get to the end of the demo, you die, but you start again, and you realize that you're in there's an enemy character who talks to you in a very third wall breaking kind of way, tells you you're in a video game demo. So I think they're going to be trying to do different third wall breaking stuff here. I'm excited about that. The one thing that has me a little hesitant about this is that it's very much playing on the tropes of the PlayStation era. I mean, Resident Evil, basically. Like I was going to say, et cetera, but really, I think they're specifically going for Resident Evil, and some of it's, hangers on. And those are not games that I have a ton of experience with or affection for. Like I've certainly played some of the more modern Resident Evils, but I never played them in the PlayStation era. And so when it's going for sort of like jokey references to that, it doesn't exactly go over my head, but it's also not really hitting for me. But I am sort of really interested to see where they go with this third wall breaking stuff. So and I like match 3 games, so I'm probably going to play this. I'm looking forward to checking it out. I am not sure how long it's going to be. I think it'll probably be in our territory, but I don't know for sure. Really no way to tell from this. It's tagged as RPG, tabletop, story-rich sci-fi cyberpunk. Okay. Dinosaur
People just be tagging stuff with anything. Cyberpunk dinosaur match game.
Sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm really hopeful because as someone who's made match 3 games back in the day, I think there's a lot of fun to be had of genre mixing. I mean, we love when things that don't go together get slapped together. So I'm hopeful that the pedigree and the weird mishmash of genres is pays off, because they wouldn't have released this if I'm hoping that these people wouldn't have released this if it was bad.
Mm-hmm. Like, I trust this team.
Yeah.
These are the people that made Click Holding, I Am Your Beast, El Paso Elsewhere. These are smart people who make lots of weird stuff work, and I am very excited to see where that goes. I also love
a sequel for a game that doesn't exist.
Me too. I liked this line from their like what is it section on their page. They say it's a match 3, etc. But they also say this is a story about sequels, game development, and the horrible, beautiful things that happen when the foundation of your reality falls apart. I'm looking forward to more of that, so I want to play it.
Awesome. Well, I am playing right now. I've ended up playing through this demo twice just because I was having enough fun with it, and I sat down to fire up another game session. I was like, you know what, I kind of want to do that demo again. And the game was Haste, Broken Worlds. Haste, Broken Worlds. This one I grabbed. Like I said at the top, both of these were things I was anticipating. I have been seeing little tiny nuggets of the development of this game on social media. It's made by a group of people called Landfall, and Landfall made Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, if you know that one. And they made let me look at their list of games. A lot of let's see, Stick Fight the Game. Content warning. I tried to get us to play content warning for the show a while back, actually. But the main thing that I think ties together a lot of their games. Oh, Rounds. Rounds is fantastic.
Oh, and Cluster Truck. Yeah.
Cluster Truck. That's another one. So what ties together a lot of their games is there are a lot of physics games on this list. And this is a game that kind of matches that. So to explain a little bit about what it is a Sonic the Hedgehog, but sort of. The game is about running super fast, and it has structurally, it seems like it's kind of a little bit of a roguelike with randomly generated worlds with a bunch of different biomes, I thought they did a really good job creating a bunch of distinct, good random speed courses to run on, and it has that. I don't know what you call this mechanic to me, other than the tiny wings mechanic, where you're trying to build speed by landing kind of in the downslope, right? And it's doing that in 3D, right? And on top of that, you should get a look at this game in motion, because it's a very visually pleasing game.
Yeah, this looks awesome.
The aesthetic of it, I knew Reagan would like, because it reminds me of Assault Android Cactus a little bit.
I see it.
When I finished playing this, I was like, you know what? I don't have Assault Android Cactus on my Steam Deck right now. I need to go reinstall that. So I did. But the gameplay has a little bit of that roguelike thing, where you're kind of picking what your next node is on the node map, and you go to a shop and get upgrades and things like that. And you get some items that help. There's like a surfboard that has a couple of functions. Like, it can give you a little boost. You charge the surfboard by getting the perfect timing on your ups and downs, and then you can use it to kind of get a boost. But you also use it to cruise over sort of dangerous terrain. You're being sort of chased by the universe falling apart and breaking into a million pieces by some sort of evil corruption that's not explained in the demo. So, there were times where I had to use make sure I was building up enough charge to have the board so that I could get over some of the more dangerous spots. There seemed like there was some variety to the gameplay. Like, there was a kind of a boss fight thing. In the shop, there was a lot of little different item upgrades. In the demos, I've seen stuff like grappling hooks, in the trailer, I've seen grappling hooks. That didn't come up for me in the demo. This seems like there's some variety to it. But what I can say is they've fairly well nailed a really nice just gameplay experience of kind of hitting those jumps. All that is great. And when you get to the end of the demo, which is that kind of more node-based, like really short levels, just get to the end as quick as possible kind of thing. The demo then kind of drops you into a more or less open world place that seemed like it was designed to just sort of show off all the different biomes that they had created as something to just like sort of, hey, now mess around. And just messing around with this mechanic was fun enough for me. You could really just kind of explore a little bit and figure out how to take some of the really fast launches to get a lot of air. So honestly, there's not that much to say about this game apart from the fact that it looks really good, it plays really good, and I'm looking forward to playing the full version of it.
I mean, for those watching on YouTube, they just saw 3 minutes of me mesmerized looking at looped gameplay footage, to the point that I had to close the tab because I was going to just fall into the rabbit hole. It looks gorgeous. I'm really
the character animation is honestly really good. Like on the Steam page, they show multiple characters. There's only one character to play as in the demo, but that character, when she's running, she's just like hauling. She's just flailing really super fast. We have historically always nominated a Mario of the Year for this podcast, and I am calling it now. This could be the Sonic the Hedgehog of the year for the short game.
Yeah, this does look like a Sonic the Hedgehog. This looks awesome, Shane. I didn't have this on my list, so I'm glad you checked it out, and I cannot wait for this. Doesn't look like it has a release date listed. It looks like 2025 or something like that. It just lists sometime this year. But this looks really polished in its demo state. I don't know. I'm looking forward to whenever this comes out.
Yeah, me too.
So let's see. Laura, what is this seat taken?
Is this seat taken is the polar opposite of a running game. It is a little chill as hell puzzle game. It's by a new studio, Potty Potty, or Poti Poti, based out of Barcelona in Belgium. I don't know. P-O-P-T or P-O-P. I cannot talk. P-O-T-I, P-O-T-I. Who knows?
I mean, I've got
probably
a lot of potty happening.
Cut out me laughing at the word potty, please.
Never.
No, we got it. We're both dads.
If we cut out you not able to stop laughing at the word potty, my inability to speak for the last 2 minutes also hits. So it's been a long day for Laura. But this game was a real treat. I was, a long day at work, opened this up. It is a game about people's picky seating preferences. So you are putting people on buses or limos or movie theaters or wedding banquets or dance floors, and people have different requirements. I need to be on the dance floor. I can't be too close to someone wearing cologne. I didn't shower today. I can't be by someone who smells. That kind of thing. And you have to logic puzzle all the people on. But what makes this game much easier and much more fun is that there is immediate feedback. So you put someone who wants to sit by their friend on the bus alone, and immediately that little shape, because they're all polygons, very cute polygons, that little square starts crying and going, "Where's my friend?" or something like that. And until you satisfy the requirements, then they're super happy and bouncy. So luxuriously animated for what it is. Just didn't need to go this hard for a very simple puzzle game. But it's all about the
seating
style.
Plan puzzles. That's kind of
it's just seating plan puzzles. Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen that kind of puzzle before, but I'd not seen that as a whole game, and I like that idea.
Yeah, and like you put the smelly the person who didn't shower on a bus, for example, and then you get a little zone map of all the seats that person is smelling up, and you plop it down, that kind of thing. And you put someone there, and they go stinky or like these shapes have a lot of attitude. There seems to be some kind of storyline going on where one of the shapes, who's a rhombus, goes to a movie theater festival and for the first time sees a shape that looks like him on the big screen. He's like, maybe I could be an actor too. I don't know if he can. There's, I guess, a plot line through all these puzzles, but it's just part of the charm of these really picky people who, haven't showered for a week or wearing too much cologne. A really funny thing is sometimes the combos don't make sense. Like a child is wearing too much cologne, and that just makes me laugh. But everybody's status, their state, if they're dirty or if they are a child or they're wearing a big hat, like you can read at a glance looking at it exactly what status they are. If you need to seat someone next to their parent, a little arrow draws on which character is their parent when you pick them up. So the game has logic puzzle training wheels, not so that it will not help you solve the puzzle, but it will help you remember every rule without having to look at the card with the rules, but they're also in the corner. So I think this will be good for all ages and also people who like puzzles but are tired, which is me.
This looks so cute. I love the art. It reminds me a lot visually of just the shapes with the little faces. They look very expressive. It reminds me a lot of like Snipper Clips. Do you remember that game from like when it was like one of the first games I bought on Switch ages ago?
Great game.
I to the point where I went to check and see if there was any overlap, and I don't think so. These seem to be completely different dev teams and artists and whatnot. But they've both got this like adorable little leggy circles or whatever, the very, very cute look. I love the way these guys look. And then when you pick them up and drag them around, it's very cute.
They animate every state has an animation. That's just like excessive amount of charm for animation. You pick them up, there's animation. You place them poorly, there's animation. You place them happy, there's animation. Like there's a lot of states for all of these little characters. That really brings it to life. And for example, when they go to the wedding, which is the bonus stage in the demo, a lot of them have little bow ties on. Like they just added bow ties to all the characters to that one level. The newlyweds have little crowns on their heads. It's just that kind of the puzzles all made sense, weren't broken, really good difficulty progression. It was still very easy, but like fulfilling. I didn't feel like it was wasting my time. It feels kind of like doing a Wednesday crossword where it's not something you can do in a minute, but not something that's going to be too hard or taxing after a long day. You feel smart for doing it, but you didn't ever feel like it was hard. I can see this getting hard later, but I'd also see it continuing at this difficulty level and just having a lot more people to place, kind of like a little to the left, where it never got, it got complicated, but it never got intellectual, for lack of a better word. It's not trying to break you. It's trying to keep you engaged. I think this is going to be a really easy recommend to a lot of people. If you like the sentence, I never thought a shape like me could make it in show business, this might be on your on your level.
Yeah, I think I'm really into this. I think I really want to check this out when it comes out. And again, this one is does not seem to have a release date announced, so it does not say 2025 on their page. So sometimes it takes a while for them to get specific. I would be willing to bet this is coming out this year, just based on the fact that
it's a really polished demo. Yeah,
it seems like a really polished demo, but you never know. But we'll have to keep that on the wish list, and we'll keep it in mind for when it comes out. Let's see what else is on our list. Oh, I played a game. This is the demo that I had to stop and didn't get a chance to get very far in, but I was already very sold on it, and so I'm going to bring it up. The Art of Reflection. I always love a Portal, and this is a first-person puzzle game. I don't think it's breaking any entirely new ground, but it seems like a really good one from what I played so far. The gimmick it reminded me a lot of, I'm trying to remember the name of it. What was that game? We played it for the show where you had like a camera that you could like take a picture and it would.
Oh, right. It started with an I. I'll look it up. Keep going.
Well, it reminded me a bit of that, but honestly, a little bit more of just like straight Portal or maybe Manifold Garden a bit, although the art style isn't as interesting as Manifold Garden was. But The Art of Reflection is mostly a game about looking in mirrors. You have a kind of I don't even know if it's like a thing that you have or just like an ability or what. It's very vague. Very like, it's kind of stylized or whatever, but you have an ability where like if there are these like red orbs in the world, and if you look at one from any distance, you can kind of click on it and it puts a little frame around it. It's sort of like you're zooming in on it, and then when you let go of your button, you kind of like zoom over to it. But it's not like, it's interesting because it's not like it's kind of a playing with perspective thing, like where you're kind of zooming in and then suddenly you are standing in a place where the like zoomed in perspective that you were using was. But you do actually move through space. So you can like cancel out of one of these movements in the middle if you want. For example, like if I'm zooming halfway across the room and I want to stop on something dead center, if I time it right, you can just sort of let go or cancel out of that like movement operation, and you do stop where you were, which is interesting in part of the puzzles. even if because you're not physically traveling there, it's kind of hard to explain. But for example, there were some parts where like I managed to essentially warp through a wall by halfway zooming to something that I could see but didn't actually want to go to, that kind of thing. Hard to explain. But the other key part of this is that as long as you can see it, you can zoom to it regardless of how you see it. And so a lot of this is playing with seeing those little nodes through mirrors, reflection. Arranging mirrors, moving mirrors around or moving your body around so that you can see things reflected in mirrors and then zoom to them. It's not much of a looker. This has that sort of like very lots of geometric shapes,
It was made in like a Unity with a bunch of stuff they grabbed. One of those?
Yeah. I mean, no, not quite. Like,
okay.
I'm not slagging on it. I think it's going for readable 3D geometry, and that is fine. It's like it's perfectly fine. But it's also like it's not exciting looking. It's not stylized, very much so. It's got just enough detail for you to know what's up and no more. So I don't think it looks that great, but I am more excited to play this than a lot of other stuff that I played because this is, a genre I really love. I love playing a first-person 3D puzzle game. I'm sure there's probably one of these coming out on Steam every few days that I'm not finding out about because that is the nature of Steam. But this seems like a good one from what I've checked out so far. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. So the demo was great. It does say it's coming out in 2025. I'll be keeping an eye out.
I have something completely different.
Great.
Bambas with a exclamation point. This is a
sock company, right?
With an A. An A and an exclamation point, so not the same. I have a caveat, which is that I only played 7 minutes of this, but I'm going to completely justify still reviewing it because this is not a game I want to play, but it is a game I want to watch. This is a game where you play a pair of shoes, like disembodied shoes, and you have to move them one at a time. So when I loaded it up, people were like, this is a super stylish urban walking simulator. And I was like, ooh, want to play one of those. It's literally a walking simulator.
Oh, no.
Where you have to rotate each foot individually and then lift them and move them.
How are the controls? What do you do to do that?
I played on Steam Deck, and so it's both joysticks are the angles of the feet, and you can push them forward, and then the right and left triggers are lifting the feet. So if you need to step up on something like a curb or a sprinkler head. And I did the first 2 challenges, and I was like, I can't wait to watch someone play this because the style is so cool, and it seems to be about sneaker collecting, and this is a very cool game that I do not want to mess with. I played for 7 minutes of those controls and I was like, I can see people getting really good at this. I can see people really enjoying it. Like some people like that kind of physics simulator Octodaddy thing. And I need a bit, I need like an Octodad story to make me do that. But I can't wait to watch this because it looks cool as hell.
If we are covering stuff that we tried like maybe just a few minutes of, I actually have one more thing that I didn't put on the list that I want to throw.
Please, yeah, I just want to shout out because this is someone's favorite game. It is not for me, but I want people to know about it because it's so well made for what it is. I can't tolerate this.
I think the game Run TavernQuest is going to be something that our podcast that will fit very neatly into our podcast's niche and audience. As our listeners know, we're big interactive fiction fans, and we cover IF Comp nearly every year. I think every year. Run TavernQuest is based on kind of classic text adventures in kind of the fantasy style, and it has the look of like a green classic cathode ray tube screen, but you are not the player, you are the parser, and the player is a guy named Steve who's very dumb.
So you're like DMing a parser game?
Yes. So
Cool.
for you, it really plays out more or less like a choice-based game, but it is simulating the backside of a parser game. It's got full voice acting narration, so it's very very nice to play from that aspect. And you are just sort of trying to keep the player alive while they skip all the tutorials and make all the dumb choices that they can. Like, you'll get into combat and you have to figure out just how can I lose this fight. So it's fun. I think this is something we might want to check out.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really really funny. I did also have one last thing I was going to briefly bring up, which I played a fair amount of and quite liked, but it was very hard for a demo. So I don't know where I'm going to land on it exactly, but it's very stylish and very cool. I played a bit of Nitro Express, which is a run and gun 2D action platformer shooter. From a developer called Greyfax Software. I'm pretty sure they're from Japan, and it's published by Playism. Playism is a Japanese publisher that publishes a lot of indie games, mostly sort of very Japanese action games. They published Momodora, for example, a bunch of stuff like that. And this is one of the most lavishly animated pixel art games I've seen in a long time. Animated and illustrated by somebody with a really keen eye for good pixel art, cool color schemes, and who just absolutely loves guns, man. Realistic guns. Just super into them. And so it's a 2D platformer. Initially, I thought this was going to be kind of like a like a Neo Geo, what's the thing called? Run and gun type of arcadey thing. It's actually way more in depth than I was expecting. I played on a mouse and keyboard, and I was glad I did because it has sort of free aim. So you are like mouse aiming to shoot enemies, on screen. It's pretty involved. There's like reload times. There's like 25 different kinds of guns. You've got different kinds of things like grenades or landmines or other like gadgets that you can carry and throw. Mostly you are playing as these very cute anime girls who are fighting evil robots. But it's also like, this is a game that's like really interested in showing you like cool machines and guns. So like the troop carriers and helicopters and stuff all looks really realistic. It also has like anime cutscenes that are like beautifully animated. One of my favorite things about this game is that like the menu, when you're like booting it up, shows the characters just sort of hanging out in the office for whatever this agency they work in is, and they've all got like idle animations where they're all just sort of hanging out waiting for the next job. Then I died and came back, and the menu was replaced by them hanging out in the hospital while they're recovering from their injuries. And I was like, these are great, man. The menus are great, the cutscenes were great, like cool looking. I just wish I was better at it. But I'm motivated enough that I might grind a little and try and figure out if I can make this work for me, because this is such a cool looking game.
It sounds like this will be a really good game for me, because if it's just like a little too hard for you, this probably
No doubt. No doubt.
I can't wait. I'm going to give it a try.
All right. I'm looking forward to it too. So this was again Nitro Express. The demo is out, and they are listed with a 2025 release date. So hopefully pretty soon. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that's all we've got for this week, and we're right at the hour. So listeners, by the time you hear this, Steam Next Fest may be over. Apologies there, but really we want to just sort of treat this as like previews of upcoming stuff. There's still some more stuff on my list. Just to very quickly run down the list of like some games that have demos out. I'm excited about 2025 games that we have our eye on. We talked about maybe playing Wanderstop. I think Shane, you touched it a little bit, right?
I did.
I
loaded up Wanderstop. It's probably going to be a little too long. It's gorgeous. It seems like the kind of thing that I would certainly enjoy, but I don't know if we'll end up being able to cover it for the show. It has like a like a life sim farming aspect to it, and those games can go on a real long time. So
It is. Yeah.
It right from the jump, it really seemed to be the kind of game that says our message is slow down and take lots of time with this. So
well, I mean, the pedigree is right in our wheelhouse. I mean, people who worked on this worked on Stanley Parable, Beginner's Guide, Gone Home. Like it's our people. They just might be doing something a bit larger scale than we cover typically.
Yeah.
But
which sounds super cool. I would love to play it, but yeah, may not be for the show. We'll have to wait and see. I'm really eager to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. I like tactics games mostly. I love the Ninja Turtles, and I'm really eager to see what Strange Scaffold is doing with them or has been allowed to do with them. There's a game called Your House that is a text-heavy sort of interactive fiction game that just looked really well presented and interesting. I can't wait to check that out when I have a few minutes. Also, there was a game that I just randomly came across while scrolling that just was really arresting visually and just had some interesting stuff going on called I Am Nima. I really am looking forward to checking that out.
That looked really cool. It's a game where you are some sort of cuckoo replacement child has replaced.
Yeah, it seems like a horror premise. Like it's unclear whether you are just like an abused child with some kind of strange amnesia or trauma, or if you are some kind of creature that has replaced.
Seems more like that. Seems like more like that. And it was it's a word learning and combination game, but rather than these kind of language games that we've played before, where you're like an archaeologist, instead you're like, how do I infiltrate humans? So that seems cool to me, and I like the horror premise, and the art looked good.
Yeah. Laura, I'm hoping to get you to play Little Problems with me. Little Problems is it seems like a Golden Idol but with a cozy vibe. Seems like a nice combo.
Yeah. You are solving small problems. I opened this up on Steam Deck. None of these games say they can play on Steam Deck yet, so this is not a indication that they will be able to play. It didn't work on the title screen, so I dropped it. Didn't have time to. I need to update Parallels, and I just didn't have time to Parallels updating takes a couple hours sometimes. So it's thinking about its entire life. I will probably play a little bit of this weekend, but watching just the trailer and a couple of people streaming it looks right up our alley. And signs point too short, which makes me happy.
Nice. Yeah. And then just a handful of other stuff. These are all, there are some sequels to games that we've covered that are coming out. Bramble Royale is the third game in the Meteor Fall series. We covered Meteor Fall 1 and had the developer on as a guest at one point. He's a friend of the show, and we haven't talked to him in ages, but his third game is coming out, and I'm excited to check it out. And honestly, it looks more interesting to me than the second Meteor Fall game, Crummets Tale. Not that it was a bad game by any means, but this one looks even more interesting. So I'm eager to check that out. Yes, Your Grace, the sort of adventure narrative game that we played 2 years ago, maybe, has a sequel out from the same developer called Yes, Your Grace Snowfall. And there's a new Duck Detective game coming out. Duck Detective, The Ghost of Glamping. Looking forward to that. I was also going to mention very briefly Zombieville USA 3D. This is one that I saw a GIF of, and I was like, oh crap, Zombieville is back. There was a series of 2D zombie shooting games for the iPhone in the earliest days of the App Store. And
that was before I got totally burned out on the idea of zombies completely.
Yeah. Zombieville USA 3D, it basically looks like Zombieville, but in 3D, but just carried on the affection for that, being a thing that I played on my iPhone back in 2000 and what it would have been 8, maybe. I'm probably going to check that out. And that's coming out very soon. I think that's actually out this week or next. So really looking forward to checking some of those out as they roll out through the rest of the year. We'll be keeping our eye on them. If you, listener, have played anything in Steam Next Fest, or just have a game that you are sure has short game energy, let us know. The best way to do that would be to drop us a line on our Discord. That is something that you get access to if you are a patron of the show. Patreon.com/theshortgame, or go to shortgame.fm. and you'll find all the links and buttons there. There's also a contact form. You can email us. So there's other ways to get in touch with us. You don't have to be a patron in order to recommend something for the show. Blue Sky, another great option. So, hit us up wherever you are. But we love our patrons. Thank you, patrons. Hope that we'll be able to have cover a lot of this stuff in 2025. This is actually really, this has made me more energized for 2025, just playing some of this stuff. So I'm excited about what's coming out. If you want more Steam Next Fest coverage, I'll just put a quick plug for John and Gaming in the Wild. He did a great episode of his show where he covered some of these games and others that we didn't discuss. And he does a great job with his videos there. Check him out on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. So, hey, John. And there's a lot of other great coverage of this stuff out there too. Indie Informer did some great coverage too. But we're eager to cover more great indies in 2025, and I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned all the places you can find us, so I'll just say thanks for joining us on this episode of The Short Game. I'm Reagan Kelly.
I'm Laura Nash.
And I'm Shane Kelly.
And thanks once again for joining us on this episode of The Short Game. See you next time.